Right. Thank you so much for being with me today. Greatly appreciate it. For those that have not met you at an expo or training, can you share with everyone your name, company name, where you guys are located?
I'm Britt Simcox.
I'm Brian Simcox.
What company?
And it's Brigham Heating and Cooling.
Very good.
Been a family business for over 40 years out of Brigham City, Utah.
Excellent. Excellent. Very excited to talk to you guys today. Just so people kind of understand the size and scope of your operation. I know it's a family business. Kind of how many people are in the office versus the field?
Well, we're working on building, obviously, but ideally we're almost to 3 people in the office.
Okay.
How many guys in the field?
Probably around 8.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you service and install?
Yeah, that's our service, maintenance, and install.
Okay, very good. And do they do the sales as well, or do you have someone like that?
We have selling technicians. Okay, yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'm looking forward to getting into that. Talking for a great reason. I know business has been going well. I know, you're always looking to do a little bit better, but looking back where you guys have grown, it's grown significantly. Maybe share with everyone, before you started with us, 10, 11 years ago, it was, where was the company back then?
Well, I know when my father retired, one of the phrases he said to me was, I don't know what's going on. Hopefully you can figure it out. Right? So, okay, I'm up for a challenge.
Yeah.
And I learned real quick that doing the work is not running a company.
Right.
They're very separate things.
And then how do you feel when you look back at where that you were there compared to now? What's that kind of feeling like? Go, holy cow. I know it's obviously not easy, but it's a different feeling.
well, it was an immediate almost, okay, I'm now retired. Go ahead and do your thing. And it wasn't planned nor expected in that moment. I worked full time for the local school district. I tried to tell Brian, he was old school, shoebox accounting, no processes, no procedures, no uniforms, no logoed trucks. So, when we took over, it was very evident within the first month that we don't charge enough to sustain what's going on.
Right.
Brian and his brother didn't get
We didn't get a paycheck
for the first month or 2.
Yeah.
And that's when we realized, when I started doing the QuickBooks, that we had to do something quickly
Right.
to stay in business, right? You can't offer the best service at the lowest cost and sustain that and be available for your clients.
Right. And that's,
So-
I think you said we're doing sales around 400,000 back then, something like that. Now you're aiming for that $2 million mark, correct?
So we went over $2 million last year.
Oh, nice. That's great. And at the right profit margin, of course. Got to keep it. If you think you don't want to just trade paper, well, that's great. So to think about today versus back then, it's pretty incredible to see what you guys have built. It's something else. I know it's feeling that way. But
Yeah.
No, I think you guys have done great. Let's dig into the family business a little bit. So your dad started the business, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
So he went to Vietnam, and when he got out, he took advantage of the GI Bill, and he ended up going to refrigeration, and he really enjoyed working with his hands. And so when he got his degree, he went and worked for a company, but they didn't make it. The paycheck started to bounce. So he's like, okay, do I just go out on my own? And he did. So he opened the business up in our family store on Main Street, and we are still there today. But he just ran it out of the basement, and it stayed there till the day he retired. So he made no changes over 35 years.
Well, this is the family store. So what was the store?
Yeah. So the store was been a lot of things, but when he worked there as a kid, it was a grocery store.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. And then did you know you were always going to get into the trade, or did you?
Oh no, I always told him. I made sure I applied myself in school. I had options, and then when I graduated, I thought, I don't really want to do any more schooling.
Yeah.
And I've already learned a lot about this business.
Yeah.
And so I decided to continue.
Okay.
But they did start young. I mean,
Yeah. I think I was 10 years old on my first job.
Is that right?
They built a fourplex across the street from our house, and my first job was putting heat runs in.
Oh.
And your hands aren't even hardly big enough to run the tools. So all day to do 2 heat runs.
Yeah.
but back in the day, they did a lot of new construction, which helped facilitate them being able to go to work in the business after school and on holidays and weekends or whatever was necessary.
Yeah.
to, gain at least the knowledge that he had.
Right.
So
When did the shift go to completely the residential service replace?
Well, as you know, in 2008, we had the big crash, and there were some scary parts in that. My dad never eliminated new construction. In 2013, we were still doing new construction until we joined SGI at the time.
Okay.
And we really appreciated the model a lot more and realized that we could actually probably make a living
Right.
continuing the trade.
Right.
we were grateful and thankful that even though they did the new construction, he still had a great base for repair. He didn't really believe in maintenance.
Yeah.
It was always reactive versus proactive.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of great clients for repair and whatnot. So when, we went to Profit Day and they start telling people that, new construction or commercial really isn't, where the money's at. It was an easy choice to back away from that part of it. We weren't just solely focused on that it was scary, I mean, it was still scary.
Sure.
But it was doable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's think before we get too deep in the Profit Day. So you said you were a teacher or you're
support staff. So yeah.
So when did when did you make the shift over?
Oh my goodness. So I think we took over January 1st, 2013.
Oh.
And I worked for the local school district because I had to provide benefits for my family. Right. His father that wasn't something that, he did. And so I want to say it was June of 2014. So we had to make sure that we could be profitable.
No, I don't even think I think it was 6 months.
Well, okay. So we took over in January. Our Profit Day
In
was
2013.
We joined in November of 2013.
Okay.
So I want to say that it was when I'm full time. I was probably June of 14, something like that.
So
we got to make sure that we could put our eggs in one basket, and I had to make sure that I could provide insurance for everybody. And there was a lot of that went into it to make sure that we could make that jump.
Right.
So
what did the company look like? Like in terms of people at that time? Was it just the two of you?
It was all family. So it was me, my brother, who's my partner, and then it was my cousin and my uncle.
Okay.
So
and Brian was the youngest.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And
so
running the
it's
show.
hard because I was now in charge of the people that trained me.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting
Dynamic.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Interesting is probably lightweight for it, right? Yeah. So I get that. You're the the youngster, and all of a sudden, I got to take advice and insight from you. That's not always easy. And then I'm sure then once you go,
change was hard.
and then go, but we'll get into that in a second. So you guys, you got kind of thrown into it. And you're like, okay, we need to change some things up, right? So did we find you, or did you go looking for help?
It was a mailer.
It was a mailer that I got randomly in the mail, and I looked at it, and I was like, you know what? We can't keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
We need to go to this. It happened to be in Salt Lake, so it was close. And so Brian and I went. We didn't bring his brother, the partner, along.
Yeah.
And, it was clear when we were there, this is a step that we have to make. Part of our problem was we didn't include Jared in that decision. So it was a little bit, he is a very, what's the word?
He's got more of a minimalistic mentality. He likes to just say, he's very efficient in how he saves and how he goes about things. So taking a risk is also not his thing.
Yeah.
And, it's probably something we probably shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
But
we did.
That's how we learn.
And we're grateful that we did, but it has been a little bit of a hump to get over.
For sure. Sure. Yeah. I mean, hey, we're joining this thing.
Right.
I know we were.
How much money did you spend?
Right. All of it. And you're like, okay, we were doing construct. Was he even open to service and replacement, residential service replacement, or you guys?
Oh, we already did that. We just, we still maintained a little bit of the new construction, but it was more for a certain company that did custom homes.
Got it.
And valued what we brought to the table with our knowledge and our skills. over the years, obviously, we kind of priced ourselves out of those types of projects because we weren't set up to do just new construction.
So everyone was on board with that, at least. So
Yeah.
that been overcome.
Right.
So you go prop day, ready to do this. Next step is to go to executive perspective. See, back then, was it we have Florida or we probably Florida still.
Yeah.
So it's a good little flight, right?
Right.
So what were your recollections of the executive perspective?
Like a fire hose.
Right. And we knew some of the things that we needed to do. It's scary making those hard choices of, if you're going to increase prices, you have to bring more value to the table to show that, which meant, uniformed employees, drug screened, background checked, decaled vehicles, all that fun stuff. And with the, current family employees, that just wasn't their style. They were resistant to change.
Right.
So it took us a while to get going because of that. It wasn't, yeah.
And, it's really hard when you know something, but it kind of goes against what you've always been told.
Of course.
Right. And so when you explain to the group that, okay, these changes are, prices have to go up. And the response was, well, I guess the word will get out, our prices are going up, and I guess we should probably all start looking for a new job. And I responded like, well, if people don't accept the new price, then we will be looking for a new job.
Right.
We don't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I guess you try to show them the books and where the finances were, and they were losing money, right? I mean, I guess it just take time for everyone to kind of accept it, or did some of the family leave at that point?
Nobody left.
Okay.
No one left.
It was hard to implement, though.
Sure.
There's resistance, but after the fact, they all appreciated the new things that we brought that SGI at the time provided.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best things was just rolling out the red carpet. That actually was a huge hit for the customer.
Yeah.
And then our guys realized how nice it was because you just roll the mess up and you go. And you don't have to worry about, did I do anything to their carpet? We never have had any issues with damage or anything done to the floor.
Yeah.
And so it did differentiate ourselves a little bit from the competition for sure.
Yeah. So it was a little win. All you needed is that little win, right? And go, okay, hey guys, not a bad idea. Let's.
We had our normal fair amount that decided that, I don't like your new pricing. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Sure.
This is not fair type thing. And there were some that weren't very nice, but what do? You just thank them for their business that we've, been able to have. And if they need anything in the future, don't hesitate to call. And
Absolutely.
A large number of those people came back.
Yeah.
They got a taste of what other contractors were like and what they came to expect, and realized that they were willing to pay a little bit more for what they wanted.
Yeah, for a lot better, right?
Right.
When you went to EPs of, executive perspective, for those watching, listening that don't know what that we're referencing, fire hose, what 2 or 3 things right away are like, okay, we've got to do this and try and get everyone on board, even though I know it's not going to be easy, right away. So I guess pricing was probably the first thing, right?
Pricing.
Service and replacement, everything need to go up?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, we had already raised the replacement price.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, actually, probably 25% plus, which was still not enough at the time. But it's what we were comfortable with as our first step.
Yeah. Well, what were some of the other things you're like, we got to do that. Boy, that's a good idea, or we're not doing that right.
Uniforms.
Yeah.
And then we were more consistent in our branding. Something that we had an issue with was every time we got a new van, it looked different.
Oh, yeah.
So nothing was consistent through the marketing. And I tell people all the time, like, oh, I see your vans everywhere. At the time, I only had a couple.
Right.
Like, well, we only have 2.
But they were noticeable.
Yeah.
One of our best marketing pieces.
Yeah. So did you get them wrapped right away, or how long did that wait?
Our first van, I guess nice van we bought was in 2014.
Yeah.
And we got it wrapped, and we were super proud of the new van. Sure it is, and it's big and it's pretty and it's rolling through town, and you can put that technician seal of safety on the side of it.
Yeah.
Start looking a little different,
right,
than the other guys.
How does it make you feel too? Right, like all of a sudden this isn't just a shop in the basement, right? We're starting to build a real business. That's got to be a
Well,
nice
it
feeling.
still was a shop in the basement.
Right.
And I was working from home or trying to. And then we realized that we need more space. I can't hire somebody to help me and have them work in my home.
Right. Right.
The kitchen table was the office.
Is that right?
Yeah. And when you come home from work and you're sitting there with your work, you find yourself doing more work. So by moving it to one location, getting it out of the house was absolutely key to being able to, I guess, keep progressing.
But going back to the building, though, we just had the back part, which basically I call it the dungeon because there was no heating or cooling in that space. It was hot or it was cold.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was no space for somebody to come to the office. And there was really no need for it at that time when my father-in-law had it by how he ran it. But it was clear that we needed space.
Right.
And the front part of the store, it went from, you know, he rented out to various places, but the last place happened to be a floral place that didn't succeed.
Okay.
And we had to talk my father-in-law into allowing us to take that space.
So it kind of worked out, though. They were done. It's available.
It was retail space, and we wanted to put up walls for offices, and he was real hesitant because he's like, if you do that and you guys don't work out, I have a space that's not truly usable in the retail sense that downtown is meant to be.
Yeah.
And we assured him that, no, we fixed the space up and no worries, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long did it take you guys to make that big leap?
It's only been, 2 years or so?
It was 2 years in. Yeah.
Okay. 2 years in. So yeah, but it's still pretty recent, you know, when you're doing all this and trying to get people to get on board. What are some other things you can maybe remember back then? Training or, you know, and just different, the key thing, answering the phone a certain way.
Yeah, answering the phone a certain way, being consistent. The implementation of club memberships was huge.
Yeah. So say, because if you didn't believe in maintenance, I'm guessing there wasn't a club membership.
And getting everybody else's minds wrapped around that concept that, you know, everyone else says, you don't need maintenance. We'll just fix it when it breaks.
Yeah.
But no, you do, you know, and it's getting people's mindset wrapped around and actually selling it instead of saying, oh, well, you can do a club membership, but I don't really believe in it. It's getting everybody on board and on the same page. And we found a lot that, you know, we had plenty of weekend calls coming in, but we found, you know, it only took 2 years of doing club memberships that it really turned it around from being super busy on the weekends for just maintenance calls, basically, that, you know, things that aren't because of lack of maintenance, that, you know, we got the good calls coming in for actual repairs and less of them because we were being proactive instead of reactive.
Right.
So it changed that dynamic just a little bit.
Sure.
And so, yeah, it made it a lot nicer.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm guessing service fees were maybe a new thing too that you guys.
Service fees were a new thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we also implemented the performance report, which was really, really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got them on board with filling out this performance report. How did you introduce this? Or are you like, hey, we're going to give it a shot, guys? Or what's the secret to that?
Well, I think every company has kind of their own unique area because they locate equipment in different spots. When we first got it, we realized that we had to do some tweaks to it.
Yeah.
But they were great about doing the tweaks we needed to meet the efficiencies and the way we need to operate for our conditions.
Right, right. But in terms of the technicians, family, how did you get them on board with, hey, you got to fill this thing out every time you go to a home, and here's why?
Well, most of the repair guys, it was me and another guy from another company, and he was already used to that kind of stuff. So it wasn't that hard.
That's true. You're in the field. You can kind of you can go, hey, I'm doing this. Look at how it works. The homeowners like it, right? You can, at least they know what's going on with their system. They don't feel like you're just going out there and blowing on it. And you know,
right.
There's something there. Did you start like building options right away too? You know, and learning how to you know, build it out and maybe flip a system because it's older?
Well, it's really about learning a process.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of it is once you learn how to run your performance report, then when you teach it, it's very easy to get the results you're looking for.
Right.
And that's what I found out with that. It's like, it's key when you are training new people on how you want them to follow a process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that consistency. So the customer's getting the same service regardless of which tech is being sent to their home.
Right.
And you find out quickly that if they're not utilizing it, clients that have been with us for a while, they notice.
Yeah.
And, they'll say, I want this tech over this tech because they know this tech's doing what they're supposed to be doing, which in our turn, it helps. It's a little bit of quality control too, to make sure that if someone's, skipping steps, that we're addressing it quickly and hopefully getting everybody back on the same page.
Sure.
So.
Sure. I mean, you're running service. You said you had another technician that seemed responsive to it. Were you guys just kind of training or role playing or just talking through situations in those days? Or how did you get comfortable with using the guide and using the performance report? And there's all these different steps that you weren't doing before. So how did you get comfortable with it?
It was hard at first.
Yeah.
We had to actually change our process just a little bit because we had a really solid customer base and they were used to, certain ways that we did things. So there were certain things we had to change just a little, but we just figured out what we were comfortable with. And that's the thing. They give you a lot of the tools, but you just tweak them to what you're comfortable with. Because if you're comfortable, your customer's comfortable.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because a customer can really notice if you're an EC offering something, right? And the nice thing of this isn't a franchise. You're not required to do anything. We can set out tools and parameters, and you make them what you want of them, and move forward. Was there a moment where you kind of finally felt like, okay, we're breaking through here, right? You had the shit. Maybe it's when you moved into the retail space, or when did it feel like, okay, we're really making some progress and people are getting on board, right? Can you figure out a time when that was?
I think it was when we finally moved in the upstairs in the building and it felt like it wasn't our house anymore. It was very different from what my dad had it.
Yeah.
That's when I realized, but it's been, it's a challenge to keep moving forward, right?
Sure.
So it's just looking for that next step.
Especially when he's in the truck.
Right.
And, it took us a while to get on board with some of the things just because of logistics.
Yeah.
But, needing, the extra time or the extra space or the extra people to kind of make things happen. So
right.
It's hard to implement if you don't always know what you're doing.
Yeah.
We took advantage and was able to go visit some other companies to give us an idea of how they do it, so we could be, okay, yep, this is what I had envisioned. This will work, for us.
That's fantastic.
Type of thing.
Who did you go visit, if you don't mind me asking?
We visited quite a few locations.
Yeah. All kind of local, or you
No, we hopped on a plane.
First we went to Idaho.
Yeah, home heating and
Featherston's, yeah.
With the Featherston.
Just sweet people.
And they actually were Christy's talk that she gave at Profit Day was kind of like the nail in the coffin for us.
Yeah.
Now, when we went up there, we saw how, their shop wasn't huge, but they were running you could feel the well-organized systems they had in place, and you just had a good feeling when you walked in.
Right. Very professional, very clean, nice office. Yeah, that's great. So all these different trips you were taking, you're like, okay, I can see it, helps you envision it, see operationally the things you need to change.
And they weren't all trips immediately. It was like, okay, we went and visited them and they helped us with a certain component.
Right.
And then John with CMC.
OCM heating?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Helped us out.
That's
and then we even went out to Castles. So.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. So
there's people you met at Expo, I guess, right?
Yeah. Or our coaches got us in contact with them because they knew a company that would be good for us to go and visit.
Yeah.
And everyone opens up everything and helps you see what they're doing exactly behind the scenes, and it's helpful.
That's great.
So, and not every company was the same. Probably why we went and visited a couple, because some of the bigger companies have a different dynamic. Some of the smaller companies, that were similar, it gave us a little bit better picture of what our expectation should be, or where to go from there.
Sure. It's so nice to see all different sizes. You feel like it, whether it's aspirational or you just get something unique they do that maybe you can do, but it's still nice to get all these different points of view, right?
Yes.
Think about the best thing you've learned on this podcast, or any podcast ever. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how life-changing was it? Did it change whether you could take vacations or where you vacation? Did it change how much time you spend with your family or what you could provide for your family? Now, I'm not saying learning new things that make a smaller impact isn't helpful. Of course it's helpful. So is hearing from people who've been in your shoes and who know what you're going through. It's why we made this podcast. And we hope you get new insights, tips, and techniques from it, as well as encouragement. But if you're looking for a truly life-changing transformation, then information alone isn't going to do it. You need a coach. I'm Rebecca Castle, CEO of CertainPath, and I know you need a coach because I needed one when I was in your shoes, running a home service business where I was the CEO, the head trainer, the ops manager, the salesperson, the call taker, and everything else. That's why I'm certain that knowledge isn't enough. Because I'd been a coach to home contractors before starting my company. I knew all the stuff, the right things to do, the procedures and strategies, and I still needed a coach. Fortunately, I had one, so I was able to grow that tiny HVAC company large enough to sell it for life-changing money. And since coming back to what was then SGI and coaching other home service businesses through that same life-changing journey, I know what's possible when you're given the tools and a coach and a community. But you don't have to take my word for it. I'll prove it to you. If you've got 90 minutes, I have a free virtual starter session that'll beat any podcast or seminar you've ever taken for delivering truly transformative content. It's free, no commitment. We just want to share with you 4 major things that we do think are the first steps to transforming your business. And all you have to do is go to mycertainpath.com and book a starter session. Because as helpful as our podcasts are, I'm betting you're going to find our starter sessions to be the best first steps you can take towards true transformation.
Now, when did you get out of the truck officially?
Well, I was out of the truck.
Yeah.
And then I got yanked back into the truck.
Okay, all right.
But part of why, we're here is learning how to manage better.
Right.
So I don't think we're going to have any trouble managing ourselves back out of the truck again.
Yeah.
So
when did you, that's because it's a big thing, right? To get out of the truck. For a lot of guys, they really struggle with it. So what was finally, when you first got out, I understood you had to get in for at least for a while, but you're looking to get out again. How did your mindset change? What made your mindset change to finally go, I need to get out of this so I can run the business?
The first thing is you got to give away your van. You can't have an easy access to jump back in the truck.
That's a good point.
The office was just used to sending me out all the time. And so by removing that option, it actually allowed me to stay.
We were able to hire more people, which facilitated them needing a vehicle.
But I didn't really get out of the truck. I'm still in the truck, but I'm with our team, helping them get better.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm still out there in the field.
Yeah.
Just not doing the same thing.
Right. So you were ready for it, though. You weren't like, I can't give up the tools. And you were looking to get out. You had enough.
Well, I won't be doing this forever. Right? It's time to train the next generation.
That's right. That's great. So, you joined 2013, within a couple of years, you're in the nice retail space. I'm sure lots of people walking by, they see the name. How did the business grow over the next handful of years? I mean, here we are 10 years later. Just kind of steadily grow a little bit, revenue, and then get the profit going.
Yeah, every year it steadily goes up.
Yeah.
So.
And, learning that we can increase prices and we, making sure that we're staying abreast on, when suppliers have increases, we have increases.
Right.
Like before it was just kind of like, this is our pricing. And, were you making money? I don't know.
Yeah.
But, taking over the business and being told your whole life that we can't charge this because people won't pay it.
Right.
And having that drilled into you for decades,
Yeah.
is a hard challenge to overcome.
Sure.
We had to, Brian went to some sales training before we found SGI.
Yeah.
Which greatly helped us get over that hump. It didn't come with any, processes or anything, but it was a big thing. I remember, having to have, talks with him and saying, we can do this. We have to do this.
Yeah.
And the anxiety that comes with knowing that, you're responsible for X amount of people and learning how to ask for that. If you're not confident in what you're asking for, people are going to pick up on that, and we're not going to want to go with you just because of that reason.
Sure.
Not because there's a price difference here or here, but you have to be confident in what you're, proposing to them.
Absolutely.
So there was a little bit of a learning curve there.
Yeah.
To get where we needed to be and not always feel like you're in, triage mode, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, though, you bring up confidence. In a big, at least my experience in talking to people over years, confidence comes with knowledge and having, like, I know this is the right thing to do, right? And to your guys' credit, you're here at a training. You're trying to get better, increase your knowledge to be better operators. So I'm assuming you guys have gone to other training of ours as well, right? For technician training, sales training, stuff like that.
Take advantage of a lot of the online stuff too.
Yeah.
But
So we joined the Learning Alliance.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
Yep. And we try to make to the trainings before every expo.
Is that right? That's great.
I know what drives us to make sure we make it is that's just what we do. We come to expo, we do the training before.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, you got to open your mind to new thoughts, right?
And I'd like to come every time. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen with home responsibilities.
Yeah.
And making sure that the office is fully staffed. But
Sure.
working on that so I can be more of a, manager over everything and making sure everybody's doing their pieces rather than being responsible for everything.
Yeah. You guys are in growth mode. You're trying to replace yourself. So, I mean, you're at that size where you're wearing all the hats.
Right.
Let's try and take a couple of them off, right?
And that's scary because it's like, well, now you have more people, more the pieces of the pie that are going out the door that aren't necessarily technicians. It's office, and it's making that all those puzzle pieces go together, and I guess taking the risk and having confidence that it's going to work out the way it's supposed to. So.
Right. But you're doing the right thing by coming here, exposing yourself to other success-minded people that have done it. It's just kind of, I think it adds credibility, right? We can make that step. They did it, and then they're willing to talk to you. I think that's the neatest thing about the group is the people. You guys went to shops. You can pick up a phone. People are always willing to talk to you. I think that's one of the neatest things about this group. And I don't know if it exists in a lot of others, is how helpful everyone is. I know I do it when we're building stuff for Expo, and I can call a member and they're like, oh yeah, we've done this. I'll send it to you. I'm like, oh man, okay, thanks.
Well, sometimes you start thinking that, we're not big enough. We're not good enough. We're not doing things the right way. And you do come to these things and then you do realize, okay, we are doing more right than we thought.
Yeah.
And so you kind of need that confidence boost a little bit, or that reminder that you got this, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We might be a little bit slower than others, but we're doing it at our pace that we're comfortable with. And not everything we're doing is wrong.
You guys are hard on yourself. I think that's why I said, if you look at where you started and how much change you've had to manage, I mean, not only the business, but just mentalities, I think it's remarkable what you guys have done. And really, I know it seems like you say 10 years, but it goes by so fast. It goes by so fast.
Well, let's just say our children probably know more about our business than a lot of children do.
Yeah.
Just based off of home conversations and having to answer the phone, after hours and on the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all that fun stuff. And I don't know if it's sad or a good thing that they understand that this is why mom and dad work so hard to give them the things that we do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's why we do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The family's everything, right?
Right.
I think you guys get to work together. I mean, and I'm sure it's not easy, right? I'm sure I had to work with my wife. I don't know how it would go, but as you get to see each other all the time and you're working through building something together, I think that's kind of remarkable.
We have a lot of people ask, how do you stay married? We've been married, 26 years now. And
whoa, really?
And yeah. And
you guys get married at 10?
19.
11.
But yeah, it's I mean, it has its struggles, but I don't see it as being a bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
So
for sure. I want to get into some different parts of the business and then just see how you guys do it. Maybe some people can learn from things. Hot topics always, calls, how do we get more calls? What kind of marketing are you guys are a smallish town, a smaller company. So it's just interesting. What kind of marketing do you guys do at your size?
Oh man.
The number one thing is our vans being wrapped.
Yeah. And it's just that's
being on the road.
Being on the road. Yeah.
The second thing is we don't do a lot of marketing.
Okay.
But what we do is we answer the phone.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed in these small towns how many go right to voicemail. No one there to answer the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much value do you think is it having the little downtown shop? Because I know some members that have opened up, in busy little downtowns, they'll open shops just to have a presence. It's like
It is
billboard, right?
between our vans and our storefront, which we just got a sign for. No.
It's amazing.
The visibility, we look larger than we actually are. But yeah, so they say we see you everywhere. We don't get a lot of traffic in the store, which is fine. We don't out there to sell parts or that. But when people do come in, they're surprised at, how nice we've made it, and it's unexpected, I guess.
Yeah.
For what they think of an HVAC office should be.
Right.
But it is nice to have clients come in and speak with us and put a face to a name. I can, distinguish people's voices over the phone a lot easier than I can, putting a name with a face.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice. So
very good. When you guys need calls, is it just outbounding? Is you said the club memberships? That's the big thing, or how do you find those extra calls when the board's not as full?
We've got close to 600 club members.
Wow.
For our little business, it keeps us very busy in the summer. We wonder how we're going to get them done.
Yeah.
But very thankful for them in the wintertime, because that's got a lot more slow months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they help feed those replacement opportunities and whatnot. Obviously, we want to grow that program.
Right.
But yeah, and my ladies in the office are great at selling and offering, and
that's great.
I
was going to ask. Yeah.
Did implement software finally.
Yeah, that's great.
And we're slowly getting all equipment and stuff in there, but it's nice to be able to run reports and say, hey, we're a little bit slower, and these are club members that have older equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's contact them first. You know, see what we can do to get in there and generate some calls.
So it sounds like the techs have gotten good at offering clubs all the time, right? And then in the office, they're selling them as well. So you have the dual support, right? So hopefully between the two of you, one of them's going to close it, right? Because it's a huge part of the business.
Well, it's just like, a lot of things. If you want your child to eat a different food, you have to put it in front of them so many times before they're even going to bite.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with club memberships. You've got to introduce it. You've got to talk about it several times before sometimes it clicks for those people or the clients to decide that, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things when somebody calls us now, it goes right to an advertisement instead of hearing a phone ring. And one of those is talking about, club membership.
Oh, that's great.
Our maintenance plan. So
that's fantastic.
So depending on when they call and what, rotation it's in, sometimes that's the second or the third time they've heard of it. And so, or they're asking us, what's this?
Yeah.
So, and that's the easiest, segue into conversation of tell me about this.
When do they know to start calling out? Is it just when you're like, okay, the board's not looking as great? Or is there like, we know, if you run a report, we're going to call every Friday to try and book for the next week? Or is it just kind of when their needs arise?
Yeah, every year it's a little bit different in our climate. I mean, summer can get started as early as May or as late as July 1st. I mean, depending on how rainy or cold it is. So every year it's just a little bit different dynamic. It's really hard to plan sometimes.
Yeah.
But we have we've got a couple, I wouldn't say, they're not commercial because it's still residential equipment, but we have a couple clients that we manage and take care of. And so we know that we can get to those at any time.
Yeah.
We've got, a list of clients that even though we don't advertise as a pre-season type inspection, but there's certain clients that, that's what they prefer. So we try to get to those individuals before they call us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's part of, our customer service that a lot of people like, that it is more, we know our clients.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
That's great. I like it. I want to keep talking about call center a little bit. How are you monitoring that call booking and making sure the calls are getting answered? I mean, it's a hot topic. I see on the Facebook groups, people are like, I know the coaches are saying it. People say, we're not getting leads, but then they dig into it and they're like, holy cow, you're only answering a certain percentage of your calls. So how do you monitor
We're
that?
pretty good at answering our calls. The way that it's set up through we use a place called OneWire where it's internet based. And so if the office doesn't, there's 3 deep in the office. And if it doesn't get answered on the office line, it forwards to my cell phone.
Okay.
So if I'm working from home that day, I'm still fielding overflow calls. The calls are getting answered.
Yeah.
And then I know if it's not getting answered, why? Is it because we were on a phone call? Were you helping a supplier that came in with, our equipment delivery? Because we're so small, we wear multiple hats.
Yeah, for sure.
So, right now we're a little bit slim in the office, and I'm working on getting that fixed.
Yeah.
But got to have the right person in the right place. And
Yeah, for sure. How are you ensuring that calls get prioritized properly so that, so-and-so gets the if it's a 20-year-old system that's out versus the 2-year-old system you didn't install, that someone installed poorly, and all of a sudden you're getting caught with.
We get plenty of those. Most of the time, unless we're on peak season, we can usually manage to get to almost every call.
Mm-hmm.
Peak season, we get inundated with a lot of calls because everyone else is too, and that they're not at, one or two men.
Answer your calls.
Yeah, so now we're getting overflow calls. So sometimes you do have to kind of, screen those calls to make sure that, number one, you're taking care of your clients, and that the calls that are getting put on the books immediately are the ones that are going to, generate that revenue.
Yeah.
To keep you moving forward. And, it's not every call that, in the beginning, it was every call that came in. I booked them immediately. I didn't know any better.
Sure.
And I almost ran my guys to the ground.
Yeah.
And so you start learning that, everyone's important.
Yeah.
But some are emergency, some are today, and some are next week, and some are next month.
Yeah.
And if, some people aren't willing to wait, they have circumstances where they can't. And if we can't get to a TUMA because they are required to, from a realtor standpoint, those don't always go to the front of the line.
Sure.
Because we know there's nothing coming of that if we're really busy, and we'll do, jobs that we don't normally do during busy times that we will entertain during slow times. Sure. We are upfront with people and say, yes, we can do that, but not right now.
Right.
What's your time frame? If you're willing to wait,
that's great.
Then we'll put you on a callback list. And when we start slowing down and we have availability, we'll give you a callback.
That's smart.
And most people will say, that sounds great. I'm going to call around and see if anybody else can do it. And, chances are most people are in that boat too. So, there's not many calls that, when on that callback list that we get to that we actually lose.
Yeah.
A lot of them are like, oh, I'm so glad that you remembered to call me back. Yes, I'm still needing the service.
I like
Please
it.
help.
I like it that you just don't say, no, we can't help you.
Right.
It's not a negative experience.
Right.
It's like, I'd love to help you right now. We're busy, but we can get back to you. Like, it's it's not like the sorry.
It's a two.
Yeah. I mean, I've deal with service companies, and I've heard that before. That's a much nicer way to put it. And then when you call back, it's like, oh, wow. That's a company I want to keep doing business with. Honestly, I think it leaves you with a good impression. Who sets the board then? Who's going? What tech's going to go on what job? I mean, do you guys work together on that, or?
Well, one way that we train our guys is we don't just hire a repair guy or a maintenance guy or an install guy. We have a process where we bring them from the ground up. And any of our technicians, generally speaking, that are in a repair scenario are capable of giving quotes and whatnot. So I think in some respects, it does make it a little easier for the office staff to know if a tech is in this position that they're pretty capable in that area.
But they also know that, our more seasoned techs that are a little bit better at sales, that if there's something that comes in that we know is an older piece of equipment, we're going to send that more seasoned tech out. The person who's most likely, if there is a finding of a failure or whatnot, can sell that. Sure. Whereas, with our install people, they do installs, and then we get them to the point where they can do maintenance. So they do an install, and if there's time at the end of the day, then we send each person on a tune-up for a newer system.
Okay.
That type of thing. So we're still, maintaining that relationship with that client.
Yeah.
And making them happy. And we get a lot of referrals from people saying, hey, I've referred you to this person, because you've taken care of me.
Yeah.
And so, and that's where they start learning. You start with the maintenance, and then, if they have the desire, the next pathway is to starting to do, basic repairs.
Right.
So that's, yeah.
How are you, it's always a tricky question. How are you finding technicians these days? Right. Is it just younger people looking for career changes? What's it look like?
I think some people that are looking for a career change, but I think a lot of the people we brought on recently, someone just walked through the door Others, maybe they were a delivery driver.
Yeah.
Well, and then we had another one who was just a friend looking to get into an industry.
Yeah.
But, it's always a challenge to improve your hiring process and finding new candidates. And that's something that we're developing right now.
Yeah.
Get better at.
Yeah. What are some things you've learned along the way? I mean, I know hiring is like that thing. Everyone excels.
Hire just because you need a body.
Right.
We've done plenty of that, just like a lot of places have.
Absolutely.
It can be more problematic than helpful.
Yeah.
So we are selective. We obviously adhere to the technician seal of safety, which, drug screening, background check, and professionally trained. Not only that, but we are a tobacco-free environment. So
Okay.
it is hard.
Yeah.
Trying to find people that fit that criteria and fit with our culture.
Yeah.
But we found that when we deviate from that, we're not successful. It doesn't work out, or it can have, negative side effects to the people that are currently with us.
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
Yeah. How are there's certain questions you always know to ask to try and reveal people's true character?
started saying these are some of our non-negotiables. We would love to visit with you, come in and fill an application. I like them coming to the office to fill out an application versus doing an online version because the online version, it usually is very, I don't know, it's hard to read.
Yeah.
You can't get a feel. When they come in, at least you can have a little bit of conversation.
It's the first interview.
Yeah, right,
Mhm.
right. It is, are they willing to fill out an application? Do they fill it out completely? Because that's a good indicator of how they're going to fill out your performance reports. How detail-oriented are they?
Mm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and just kind of let people know that, if you're a smoker, we are tobacco-free, and if you want a job here,
That's what it is.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Are there certain red flags you've learned over the years? Like, I didn't see that, but that's a definite red flag that we cannot bring this person in.
Oh,
So I think we found with technicians, it's finding someone that has no experience.
Yeah.
We have found way more success in that than trying to hire someone with experience
Mm.
because they bring all those habits that you have to try and break them of. And,
Right.
and that's really hard.
What do you, when you have someone that comes in, no experience, is this just a feeling that you get? I mean, they're filling everything out properly. They look like they're presentable. They communicate well. What gives you that? Okay, that's someone we need to bring aboard.
From what I've noticed, you quickly learn kind of what their expectation is. We have a floor and kind of a ceiling, and Brian has a path on, where you can be with certain things. In Utah, you have to have 2 credentials. You have to have your EPA certification, which allows you to work on refrigerant, air conditioners, and you have to have your RMGA, which is the Rocky Mountain Gas Association credential that allows you to work on gas and
Gas appliances.
gas appliances, propane appliances.
Right.
And without that, you cannot. And so that is a hurdle that we have in our area that other places around the country don't have to deal with.
Right.
And so recruiting and training for us is a little bit more in depth. It's a lot longer to get them trained if they don't have those credentials and have them start producing for you, because if they don't have those, they are stuck with somebody.
Yeah.
They are the helper, and so that's been a little bit hard. And even in our area, there's companies that, they have their lead that has it and they think that's good enough, and it's not.
Yeah. You guys are going to be business.
So,
yeah. How long does it take someone to get those certifications typically?
It's generally probably 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just have them right along, they help, and it's a good way to see if this is a right fit too.
right.
Yeah. So
Oh.
that's the training. It's mostly it's riding along. Do you do a lot of training in the office? Both communication and technical, or you do?
Well, when they're first starting, I have a part of my compensation plan is the amount of tasks that they complete.
Okay.
And so it's task-based.
Mm-hmm.
I have it all wrote down exactly how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
And then we do monthly reviews to see where they're at.
Okay.
And then we give them compensation based on where they are.
Nice.
And then we spiff them for getting those certifications and increase of wage as well.
Okay.
We've learned over the years that if we just front the money for all of their training, specifically those 2 items, they don't take it seriously. They know they need to get it.
Yeah.
We are pushing for them to get it because they've got to have it.
Yeah.
But there's not, it depends on the individual, but you find out those that aren't as motivated.
Yeah.
So we had to move to the model of these are your requirements to stay with us and remain with us. And here's the materials, here's your resources to do it. And this is kind of the time frame we expect you to have it in. And once they pass that credential, they get $1 raise, and they also get a bonus, which more than pays for their time that they would have put in to obtain that credential. So it kind of puts it, one, they have to want to do it, and it puts them in the driver's seat to ensure. And if they don't want to do it, then they wasted their own money.
Yeah.
So to speak.
And by implementing, I call it my straightforward compensation plan.
I like it. Yeah.
And
TM that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't have people coming to me asking for raises. It's more about, okay, what skills do you need? And so it makes it a lot easier.
But if they are, then he pulls out the thing to say, okay, where are we at in your process?
Right.
So it puts it back on them versus, well, I've been here X amount of time, I deserve a raise. Well, of course, we all deserve raises.
Right.
But where are you at? What can we do?
Support for this podcast comes from Pulse M Plus and Customer Lobby. Is maximizing reviews and referrals a priority for your business in the second half of the year? Pulse M Plus and Customer Lobby are proud partners of CertainPath and can help you achieve more reviews and repeat business by working together to create value at each touchpoint in your customer's journey. Increasing your amount of Google reviews has a large impact on gaining more repeat and referral business. Pulse M Plus can help you achieve up to 3 times more reviews by automating review requests at the end of each job, and then Customer Lobby's unique algorithm follows up with your customer base at the optimal time to produce a response. Customer Lobby's direct mail postcards give your customers an extra way to keep your company top of mind when they need to schedule their next appointment with you. If you're looking to hear more about how we partner with CertainPath members or view a free demo for Pulse M Plus and Customer Lobby, we'd love to connect with you. Visit our link at get.pulsem.me/pm-plus-CertainPath.
These products fill a wide variety of both residential and commercial applications, and they're Energy Star certified. Both models offer a robust stainless steel heat exchanger, cascade and common venting options, plus the Infinity GR has a built-in recirculation pump. Enjoy continuous hot water on demand in a convenient, compact design for added flexibility with Bradford White's Infinity GS and GR tankless gas water heaters. To learn more, visit forthepro.bradfordwhite.com.
Support for this podcast comes from Synchrony. Ever wonder how to calculate your true cost of financing and how to fit the price of financing into your business and pricing for products and services? In Synchrony's new and improved Toolbox website, you can easily calculate your cost of credit, view educational videos, and learn more about Synchrony's digital tools. Simply go to toolbox.syf.com to explore and learn more.
What does continuous training look like for you guys? Whether it's technical or communication, is it just coming in the shop and talking through things? What do you guys do?
So we also look at, we use our goal board.
Okay.
Kind of indicates where maybe we're lacking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Also pay attention to maybe the season or the change.
Right.
Maybe where the team is at in their process of where they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime we have like a change of seasons, we want to get refocused on the different tasks because we don't just do air conditioners all year.
Right.
So furnaces they're a different, a little bit different process, and you have to be prepared because the dynamics are a little different than you. So
So it's just by season and
Yep.
away you go. A big thing that we run into all the time and members struggle with is keeping people accountable to do the system performance report, to build out options. I'm sure you guys have run into those things. What's the secret to success to making sure guys do it way more than they don't? Like, is it just checking in with them after every call, or how do you keep people accountable? Basically, let's put it out there.
Well, one thing we noticed is our when we got the board up and going, that our average ticket was a little bit low.
Mm.
And then so not only to do a small price adjustment, but the implementation of the performance report, which turns into options.
Yeah.
If you don't know what they need, then how are you going to present options?
Good point.
So,
And part of that, because we're small, relies on my CSR dispatcher scheduler.
Yeah.
That when they're calling into the office to say I'm done, during that debrief, making sure that do we have the pictures of all the equipment? Do we have that performance report? Did they generate an invoice, and is the invoice correct?
Yeah.
And, training new people, they're not always going to recognize that maybe what they charged or what they did is correct, but that's kind of where I come in. And if things aren't right, then we discuss it. And sometimes it's in private, depending on what it is. Sometimes it's as a group, because it's a common mistake that people can make.
Sure.
We went out and charged a service fee and a minimum repair to clean a flame sensor. Well, we should never be doing that. We should be offering a tune-up, because chances are you're going to have a callback if you just clean that flame sensor.
Right.
So if you've done the complete tune-up, chances are they're not going to have to call you back. They're going to be happy, and and we'll see them next season, or when a repair's justified. But yeah,
I like it. You're just constant. It's a conversation, whether it's one-on-one or with the group, if you notice trends, but don't let it go, unaddressed.
Right.
That's the key.
Right.
You mentioned callbacks, and when you're trying to make a profit, callbacks are a total killer.
They are.
What are some things you've learned over the years, and how to try and reduce callbacks on service, on installs? Any things you've learned that would help people?
I know on installs, we were having trouble a little bit ago on that, and what we realized was we had all the tasks down, but knowing what to do is part of it, but when is just as important. And then not thinking through the job from start to finish. So if you see a guy driving all over the place and he's working late, so he's trying to work fast, things get missed. Also want to make sure that you're doing your finalized paperwork to ensure that the system's set up properly.
Yeah.
But did you turn the gas back on? I don't want to call 3 hours from now saying I don't have hot water and my family needs to take showers this evening.
Yeah. Right. So it's those little processes, because those little things add up. People don't have all.
Lay up the pilot and get them their water back in.
Yeah.
Service from turning the gas off. So
what are just a kind of overview? I'm thinking about from service repair, any significant change that you made or improvements that you're like, boy, that really made a difference. Whether it's training or people or whatever that comes to mind. I'd love to see what you say.
I think the biggest thing, especially on furnaces, was knowing how to inspect them properly.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very important. Had to take a lot of training on that.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, industry-wide is a very confusing topic.
Yeah.
Is a furnace safe to operate?
Right.
But not only knowing how to inspect them and, where to look for those failures, but also have the capability of talking with the homeowner about it and what it truly means.
Right.
Because if you can't convey that to them, they're just like, well, they said it doesn't work, but I can flip it back on, so let's do that.
Right. Right. So that was a big thing for you guys. What was a breakthrough? How did you get everyone to understand and how to communicate that the right way?
Well, we did the inspector camera.
Oh, yeah.
And we went to the training with Tom.
Yeah.
And learned all about heat exchanger safety and inspection, which was a huge help.
Sure. Oh, yeah. No time for a long time. So, yeah, it's a great tool. When people see it, it's right there, cracks there, right? So you understand what's going on.
But one of the other biggest things that we implemented that we were a little bit resistant to, just because it's one more thing, was actually offer financing.
Oh, yeah.
That for us was a big thing.
Right.
His dad didn't offer financing, and I bet he left, I would say, easy $100,000 to $150,000 on the table of unpaid invoices.
Oh, wow.
When he left, just because he would carry contracts and
Sure.
not have the capability of following up, or, people just aren't going to pay.
Right.
So for us, and most recently for offering financing for lower dollar amounts to facilitate repairs, just because of the way the economy's gone.
Yeah.
The cost of some of these items are very, high dollar.
Yeah, I was going to say they're cheaper. Yeah.
Right. So that's made a big difference in making sure that the money stays in our account where it's supposed to be. We're not working for free.
Yeah.
So.
And adjusting your price, because you have to offer that financing, right? So that you're not taking it How many financing partners do you work with?
Right now we have 3, but we're working with primarily one and that has a high finance rate.
Yeah.
Who it's Good Leap is who we kind of went to because they can finance, I think like $1,000
Yeah.
and higher.
Right.
The process is easy, whether it's in the field with my tech or me sending an email from my desktop. We've also used Wells Fargo and Synchrony.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on, what works for you and what price points you can get through either here or through the partner network or
Yeah.
through our suppliers programs.
How did you train the guys to talk about financing, right? All of a sudden you go from working on something versus let's have a financing conversation, right? So that's not easy. How did you facilitate that?
Well, I think it's easy to sell like a zero interest option,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to build all that back in.
Exactly.
And it's expensive.
And so
Very.
we decided to kind of push the 15-year,
Mm-hmm.
might be a little higher interest rate, but the thing is people don't get tied into that high monthly obligation.
Right.
And the way I explain it to them to make them understand, like people that want to change their life to get a furnace or an air conditioner.
Right.
This allows them to have a low monthly payment, and then they can control when they want to pay it off.
It's true. I mean, you think about it, it's far more of a positive experience versus, oh my gosh, we have to pay what every month for this?
A car payment? No.
Yeah, right. I mean, because ultimately you guys are in customer satisfaction. You don't want people to go, oh, we got to pay that again.
And
What was that company? Yeah.
I think the biggest thing with the Good Leap platform is it's a soft pull on credit.
Mm-hmm.
So they can find out whether they're qualified without affecting their credit.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
So
That's part of the sales process. We haven't really got into how you learn how to sell, right? Because you didn't really have any sales training before, right? I know you went to some before you met up with us. How do you work with the guys in selling now, handling objections? Is it just in the shop in the mornings? Is it over the phone?
Yeah. Well, one thing I noticed was, I used to do all the selling.
Yeah.
Got out of the truck and then started handing these things off to the guys. But I realized that they did really good on tech-generated leads. We were probably closing 90% easy.
That's great.
Where we struggled was market leads.
Sure.
Right? It was probably in the 20% range,
Okay.
but we don't advertise for that. So most of our work comes from tech-generated, which I would rather run all day long.
Sure.
However, certain times of year, tech-generated or market leads are important.
Yeah. Better than none.
Yeah. So what I realized is I never really trained them on how to sell.
Right.
Because during the COVID time, you just needed a body that showed up and give a price.
Right.
And that kind of makes you lazy.
Yeah.
So we got caught up in the laziness just a little bit.
A lot of people did.
Yeah.
A lot of people did.
So what we did was we took the sales process that I'd used.
Yeah.
Which is a combination of several.
Yeah.
And which I was comfortable with, kind of tweaked it to what I wanted. But realized as I was training the guys, we added some things to it. And between the collaboration with the team, we were able to solve some of the challenges they were experiencing.
Okay.
Right? Because it's one thing if you've done it for 10, 15 years or whatever, that's easy. But when you've done it for 15 days, that's different. So we created a really good process that the guys could easily do. And we could essentially overcome a lot of objections before they even came up.
That's great. So is it just sitting down in the shop and walking? I mean, basically it's training, right? Walking through the system and why we do it a certain way.
yeah, we meet every morning for 15 to 30 minutes
Oh, great.
before we dispatch them to their job. So sometimes we're focusing on safety. Sometimes we're focusing on technical training.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're just, kind of talking over the changes that are going on within our industry and how we can, implement that or change that within our process.
Yeah.
And, we'll have, like most people do have, people from the industry come in and do some training.
Yeah.
Whether it's new ECM motors, it's indoor air quality.
Yeah.
When we're doing financing stuff, that's part of it too. They usually have an onboarding type thing that they do where they, train everybody on how to use it on their iPad.
That's great.
Introduce it in the home.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very good. Very good. So yeah, training, communications. It's also nice to see everyone and see
Right.
how they're doing. You can tell someone had a rough night for some reason, and kind of, troubleshoot that a little bit. You get them focused on the day.
Because in the beginning, when I was just doing it from home, everyone was just dispatched from home
Right.
that morning to go to their job. So there wasn't a lot of one-on-one or FaceTime with the technicians. And so, it is nice to have everyone come in the morning to make sure that, is everyone in uniform the way they're supposed to, or,
Your expectation, that's 100%.
Right.
Right.
Right. And we're having that FaceTime. So if there's any problems, that we can address it in the morning. And hopefully, if it's something that's ongoing, that another tech is more prepared to handle that whole scenario if they find themselves in that situation. So,
Right.
That's a benefit of having a small town. It doesn't take an hour to get to the shop.
Right.
That's true.
It's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Then most of our guys are local. We have one that's about 30 minutes away, but everybody else
That's not bad.
is local. And that we find great joy in being able to employ people within our community
Sure.
to take care of those within our community. And, we've never had to lay anybody off. We've always, we've always got something.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. We've talked about how you answer the phones, how you service, how you sell. When the money comes in, we got to go figure out where it goes. How do we watch numbers? You guys use our software? You want to understand?
Yep. We just implemented, a year and a half ago?
Okay.
Yeah, it was April 22.
Okay. What did you learn?
23.
What did you learn from that experience? What any tips you could give to somebody else looking to get on the software?
I know we don't probably utilize everything within the software that we can,
Right.
Just because of lack of staff.
Yeah.
But
If I was to give a tip,
yeah,
it would be to not wait so long.
right.
The longer you wait, it's like the more of a mess you have to clean up when you dump the information over. And it's so inefficient trying to run it without it.
Yeah.
Your guys spend so much time filling out paperwork. Then you bring in the paperwork, then you got to process the paperwork.
Yep.
You almost have to hire someone to just deal with the paper.
Yeah.
And techs get very frustrated when all it feels like they do is fill out forms all day.
Sure. So that was the biggest win, was just kind of cutting out some of the redundancy.
Well, and also, if you want to change your pricing, you don't have to print off and get a whole bunch of new forms, and you can just change it.
Mm-hmm.
You're good to go.
So I was a little resistant just because of the amount of stuff that I was doing. It was like, I can't just take on one more thing, one more process, one more implementation.
Right.
But we're getting there.
Yeah. But that sounds like you're glad you finally bit the bullet and moved forward. So how long did it take for you to kind of feel competent with it, that you could use it, the techs could use it?
We trained. We did choose a time of year where we were very busy.
Smart. Yep.
And we trained on it in-house. They had a great setup for us to be able to use it, put in customer names, and get familiar with it.
Yeah.
But it is a little different training versus in the field.
Mm.
But overall, I expected a lot more problems than what we had.
Okay. That's great.
And we investigated a lot of softwares, and we were ready to pull the trigger. And that was like, I go to training and it was like, nope, that is not the one. And there were 2 prior to this one. And that's what made me a little hesitant, because it's like, number one, you got to be able to pay for it, but you need to be able to use it and have it, usable for your company. And some of these were just so big. They weren't for our company.
Right.
It was just more than we needed. And even with CertainPath, when it was first, presented, I was like, I like it, but I'm still doing double data entry between there and QuickBooks.
Right.
So in a way, I'm glad we waited a little bit to make sure that it was where it needed to be for us to implement it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
No, that's good. No, that's
I'm
great.
kind of one of those firm believers that, I trust my gut and it doesn't lead me astray. And, we do things in our own time, and
Sure.
And it's always worked out for us.
Yeah.
So
Who's keeping an eye? It's maybe both of you, but watching gross margins, and if the labor percentage spikes a little bit, or materials or equipment get out. Who's keeping an eye on that? How often are you guys watching that type of stuff?
So we don't do as good as we should.
Yeah.
But we are watching labor.
Yeah.
I do like the features in there. It will tell you how long they've been there. As long as, here's the trick with the software. It works great if you work it properly.
Yeah.
If you don't work it properly, you won't have very good information.
Right.
But we've spent some time and dove into it, and we understand, a lot of things that it does offer.
Yeah.
I can look and see for like, oh, we're doing dryer vent cleaning, and realize how much time it actually takes, because you implement a new service maybe you're going to do, but you don't know yet what it is. But it's a lot easier to see how long they've been there.
Yeah.
Well, is that profitable?
Right.
And so we can easily search those out and get that information and be able to make adjustments as needed.
That's great. How about looking at P&L, right? I mean, that was something that was probably new to you guys, right? When you took over the business. When did you start getting comfortable with the books? And
I'm still not comfortable with it.
oh, boy, you got a coach, right?
I'm actually ready to offboard all that right now because of how many directions I'm being.
You're getting into our sketchy zone about let's just see where
our pain point right now.
Well, we're talking about everything, so I would about run into something.
But I mean, where I did everything, whether I had everything updated or not, I always knew where our numbers kind of were at.
Yeah.
But no, we were not great at. This is our numbers, and we're setting a budget, and it's the think and I feel, and things usually work out.
Yeah. Well, on the pricing side, though, I have been running different. Instead of just the basic, we'll add this. It's we're using like the gross margin method.
Good.
Using different methods to get our pricing. And first you're like, whoa, that's up there a little bit. But you do your job right and it works.
You just got to bring right?
Bring the value.
100%. Everything's expensive now, to be perfectly honest.
And
at least compared to what we all think about things,
like
right?
parts, you used to be able to just say this is what it is and set the price, and it would be there for the years. But since COVID, I've had to really monitor when my guys are ordering parts, or I'm ordering, indoor quality, that type of thing, that I'm really checking prices on multiple platforms because it's not business as usual.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been for the last couple of years. And that has added a little bit to, what we have to monitor and watch now.
100%.
Because, for a little while there, it was like, well, this is what we charge for this filter. And I'm like, no, this filter is now this cost.
Yeah.
And, the guys, because they are not in purchasing, they, if they order, they still don't. They're just all ordering a replacement part. And I'm like, oh, no, you can't have in your head that, there's some that, well, this is what this part costs. And I said, no, that was 20 years ago.
Right.
And now they charge us shipping to send that out.
So it's kind of the retraining of, no, these parts are not cheap.
Right.
And even when like people call into the office and want to, we'll sell little parts like a capacitor and a igniter and a filter and that type of thing. But we used to, I used to try to accommodate everybody, and I'd sell motors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it just is a time eater.
Yeah.
And people want it now. And so they buy from you because you have it immediately, and then you have somebody bring something back in that they got off of Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's not the right packaging. And how do you tell someone they're a liar? You don't.
Right.
You don't. So you just say, you know what? I can sell you this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And we are not a parts store.
No, that's good.
And that has been actually very good for us.
Yeah.
Because it was taking away from the people doing the things that they needed to be doing, answering the phone and scheduling jobs and, making outbound calls.
Absolute stuff that's going to make profit.
Right.
That's great.
No, I can't say that everybody that's come into our offices and needed a little part that, they're guessing on repairs sometimes. And you do gain clients because of that, because you've been helpful, because, but it's always there. This is this. It's not returnable. But, if you find that it doesn't work, give us a call.
Yeah. Yeah. You're mentioning the guys and materials. How do you keep an eye on it? They don't have 8,000 of the certain widget in their truck. How do you kind of monitor that?
Well, we open the door and see what's in there.
Yeah.
We don't have it. We don't try the system
yet. Yeah. That's fair. Kind of just wrapping up. Here at Expo here, you guys been great members for 10 years now. How has CertainPath, formerly SGI, impacted your business looking back now?
I can definitely say, owning a business is not a walk in the park. You joke about working half day, and it's which 12 hours are you working?
Yeah.
But it, allows us to be in the driver's seat, so to speak. You're not held to working for somebody else. We can, sometimes it makes choices for you, but it certainly gives us the lifestyle that we like to live, and it gives us the opportunities and and things that we do for our children and give them experiences that we didn't have growing up.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, we enjoy being able to employ people within our community and take care of those within our community.
Yeah.
And providing a service that is necessary for everybody.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, I can actually get up and go to work, and I have enough resources available to me to actually be able to implement something.
Yeah.
Or if if I'm reaching the next stage, I have some support.
Yeah.
And then also all the members are a massive resource as well.
Yeah.
So it's all there if you're willing to put the time in. And if I were to, looking back 10 years, if I were to do it differently, I would probably put more investment and time into learning the processes faster.
Yeah.
But again, you do things as you're ready for them.
Sure. What are some, you mentioned it, so I got to follow up on, what are some of the processes you guys have been working on lately that you're like, oh, this is really making things easier, better, more profitable?
Well, most of the part when it was just us, I mean, I didn't write down processes because I did everything and everything's in my head. And so as I'm hiring and trying to train, I realized that we don't have as many processes as we need.
Right.
And that is a struggle.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we're just trying to get back down to basics to say, okay, what do we need here? Because I can read between the lines, but not everybody can.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's just getting the time to do that. And we know it's necessary. And coming to these is a reminder of how to start getting back to that and starting, because you can get overwhelmed with everything that's going on and ignore it because you just feel like it's a bigger piece of the pie than you want to take. But when you come, you realize, nope, this is where we start and we can do it.
Right.
So,
right. This on YouTube, it's podcast. Some people are up 2 a.m. looking for, gosh, I need to find something, some kind of answer. Your wife's business, where you guys were, you're trying to scramble to get everything going. You're trying to learn everything right away. They're looking for answers. So what would you say to somebody watching this at YouTube 2 a.m? They've been working 20 hours and they're looking for answers about why they should look into going to a profit day.
What can you lose? Investigate it, see if it's going to work for what you have. But sometimes you're at a point where you either make a change or you continue doing the same thing that you're doing over and over again. The beauty of being part of this is the processes that you're given. You can try to implement and change and bang your head against the wall and say, okay, we tried this, now let's try that. By being part of this community, that's already been done for you. If you can just, take the processes that are there for you now and talk to the other members, you can eliminate a lot of that headache and heartache.
Yeah.
And move forward.
Yeah. Brian, what do you think?
Well, when I look at it as a whole, I mean, you invest a lot of time, money, and effort on trucks, employees, but what are you investing in yourself?
Yeah.
And this allows you to invest in yourself.
Yeah, that's great.
And then by investing in ourselves, we're investing in our employees and their families.
It's a great point. That's a great point. All right, last question. What do you guys see? What's the next 10 years look like?
Might need a bigger shop. No.
Yeah.
I think the next 10 years is going to be becoming really good at managing people.
Right.
I can't see us moving anywhere further than we are without those skills and ability.
Right.
And that's what we're currently working on.
Yeah. That's why you're here.
Yep.
Yeah. And hopefully creating an exit plan. No. Starting to create an exit plan. I don't know.
It's okay to have it and it's not executed for a while. It's nothing wrong with planning.
Right.
So that's great. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for all your time, especially after a class. I know there's a lot of information you had already. Really appreciate it. It was fun learning your story.
We appreciate you having us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Support for this podcast comes from HD Supply. At HD Supply, our job is helping you do yours. We are uniquely positioned to help drive your business through unrivaled access to professional-grade plumbing, electrical, and HVAC products and innovative business solutions such as our Stockwise inventory management program, fully customizable to meet your needs and improve productivity. Our national network of distribution centers and more than 2,200 store locations nationwide provide a national reach with a local focus, providing unmatched convenience and product availability. We power pros to do more. Support for this podcast comes from Dynamic Air Quality Solutions. Since 1982, Dynamic has been the leader in designing, manufacturing, and distributing IAQ products to the commercial and residential markets through authorized HVAC contractors. CertainPath members receive the exclusive value of the Clean Air Defense System private label to drive your brand in the market you serve. Our commitment starts with support. We provide you with world-class industry-leading technical and communication training, face-to-face and online. Become a Clean Air Defense System indoor air quality partner and dominate your market. Visit worldclassiaq.com for more information. And Staples. Staples is the leading provider in office supplies, offering a vast selection of products and services. Over the last 2 years, Staples has also become one of the largest janitorial suppliers in the U.S. as well. From your everyday business essentials to your office furniture, printing, facilities, and break room, Staples can do it all. Staples offers benefits to help create efficiencies in procurement and consolidate vendors to streamline internal processes. Visit staplesadvantage.com to learn more. The Successful Contractor podcast is part of the CertainPath family. CertainPath builds successful home service businesses and has for over 25 years. We do it by providing contractors with a proven path to success, professional coaching, software solutions, and a member community of 1,000 plus strong. Doubling your sales with a 20% net profit and an inspiring company culture is all possible. Let us show you the way. With CertainPath, success is made certain. Visit www.mycertainpath.com or call 888-909-6604 for more information.